Well, you know what time it is. It's time to read the misses. And not the Mr., as I usually say, the misses. And the reason that I can remember it this time is because I was away for a week on a writing retreat, and during that time, a thing popped up on my Google about the Mr., and I went and I looked at it, and it was like a recap of the Mr., and I was like, none of this stuff is happening in the book I'm reading, and then I realized it was the other book. So, I know now that this is the misses. Before we get off to reading this horrible book, I want to recommend to you my own book, which is nothing like The Misses. And not because of quality things, although I would argue that even in the most objective manner. Anyway, the point is, I have a book coming out February 29th. It is not a contemporary romance. It is a, well, I was calling it romantasy, but now it's sort of spiraled into fantasy with romance in it. It's called The Ogre's Fairy Tale Bride. It is the first in my Fablemere series, and you will be able to purchase this in paperback or ebook on February 29th. I very highly encourage you to do so. So yeah, time for the misses. Interesting thing, I started watching Poldark while I was away. Like, I didn't do one video for this, like, or one chapter of this book, and then I went away, and while I was away, I was like, you know what, I really miss Poldark. So it's probably because I have Stockholm Syndrome and I somehow missed this book. Chapter 22 begins with a classic E.L. James chapter opener. Someone waking up. Not just waking up. I wake with a start. We've read that in one of her books before. We've read, you know, and that happens in a lot of books. A lot of times people wake with a start, but she just has made it such a tradition, almost a motif, if you will. I wake with a start. It's a bright spring morning, and a glance to my side tells me I'm on my own. Hell, is she here? Well, I would go ahead and say no, since you just said you were on your own, and I know that what this means is she in the house? Has she left the house? Has she left me? Blah, blah, blah. This is why writing well is a very important skill, because someone waking up, finding the person gone, and then being like, oh my gosh, have they left entirely? That could actually be a thing if it was written with any sort of care. But at no point in writing this did the brain kick in and say, well, of course she's not there. I need to be more specific in the wording. Guess where she is. Just guess. You're never gonna believe it. That's right. She's in the kitchen, and she's making bread early in the morning. Because what does she do? She makes bread. Why? Because she's an Albanian peasant. And that's really all that E.L. James imagines Albanian women can do, is cook. That's what I'm getting from this. And there's the weirdest fucking line in this description of her making bread. She's bent over the counter, kneading the dough like it's deeply offended her. Or her life depends on it. I'm not sure which. She's barefoot but not pregnant, I think idly, and watches a tendril from a ponytail escapes and curls down her cheek and under her chin. Barefoot but not pregnant. Why is that in there? Why is this a part of the book? She shakes it loose, peers up, and freezes when she sees me. She freezes when she sees him. She has that response to seeing this man. Here's the thing. E.L. James, even when she's writing a man who is not abusive in the Christian Grey way, the heroines always react to the hero as if he is abusive. Because if you remember, if you were a part of the $10 tier on my Patreon, we read on that tier an E.L. James fan fiction, and the hero in it, actually, he wasn't like an abusive douche, but the heroine reacted as if she were being abused. It was very, very strange, and we're seeing it again here. Alessia is acting weird, and he thinks it's because she's mad from the night before. She takes her phone. I just can the fuck not with this book. She takes the phone, picks it up, and shows him that her mother has sent her a tabloid article on the smartphone because she has a Google alert set up. Literally, my mother, she sent me this. She has the Google alert. And it's a tabloid story from the party. But do we remember what E.L. James's vision of Albania is? Suddenly, though, her mom has a smartphone and a Google alert? I honestly, I wish that this was like a face-to-face chat with you right now, friends, because I very much remember Albania being so primitive that Alessia didn't know what a debit card was. And now she's got Google alerts and she's sending... Okay. All right. My heart sinks as she hands me her phone, and sure enough, she reveals a tabloid article titled "The Earl, the Ex, and the Wife." A series of photographs from last night accompany it. Alessia, Caroline, and me arriving at the party, together at the party, and there's a photograph of Charlotte kissing me. In it, I'm obviously taken aback and not a willing participant. I'm vindicated, though I'm sure that's not what the picture editor who chose the photo intended. Okay, there's a thing about them. I just, the Earl, the Ex, and the Wife, this is one of those things where I feel like the British tabloids, their titles are way better than that. Like, their headlines are, like, absolutely bonkers. And I do not get why... I mean, E.L. James is from there. That's such a boring title compared to some of the things that we've seen, like British tabloids say the wildest shit in their headlines. That seems so tame. It's just like, oh, okay. So I'm a little bit disappointed because I feel like that's a place where, you know, she could really use her experience and, like, really let it fly, you know? So the way that Maxim responds to getting this article set in front of him is to say that he really likes a picture of him and Alessia, and then he's like, your mother sent that? And I'm like, I know, right? How? But that's not the point that he's making. Alessia says, well, she worries. This conversation is so creepy. She worries. Did you reassure her? I did. Good. Are you reassured? It's like so funny. It's like the funniest thing ever because it sounds like a hostage situation. It sounds like a hostage like person, like a kidnapper telling the hostage, like, did you say this? Did you say this? I feel like whenever E.L. James gets to a point where she doesn't know what to do next, she throws in sex stuff. Like, uh-oh, I don't really feel like writing this scene. Or, uh-oh, I don't really feel like truly examining the character's emotions and reactions in this scene. Better do some sex stuff so the hero can think about his crotch. She bites her lip, her eyes shining with unshed tears, and I have my answer. Reaching up, I run my thumb over her trembling bottom lip. You didn't sign up for any of this, did you? She inhales sharply, and I dread what she's going to say. But she runs her tongue across my thumb, then purses her lips and kisses the tip. The jolt travels like lightning to my groin, heating everything in its path, and I suppress a groan, taken completely by surprise. We continue on. That she looks at him, and he knows that the way that she's looking at him is from the same jolt of desire. And then her sharply exhaled breath dries the spot on my thumb moistened by her kiss, sending my blood racing south. Her eyes follow, and my dick rejoices as I drop my hand. Oh, I think when I was doing the Mr. recaps on my blog, in fact, I know for a fact, at some point in there I said that I wished he had an inner goddess instead of his dick, because Maxim's dick is playing the role of his inner goddess in this book. By the way, if you can hear all that really loud, like, video game noise, that was a noise that I was assured you would not hear. There's also, though, in this, like, sex scene, like, somehow she manages to write in this sexy scene a description of what is wrong with how she writes, okay? I'll just say it, okay? I'll just read the thing and then I'll explain what I mean. Yes, Jenny, that's how recaps work. I step closer so I'm bathed in her scent and the warmth of her body. I want nothing more than to grab her, strip off her jeans and fuck her on the kitchen counter. But I want her to make the first move. That is the #1 problem with all of E.L. James's writing. She has characters who know very much what they want. They know exactly what they want. But they won't do common sense things to get it. Like, you know, expressing an interest back. His wife's trying to get with him in a sexy way. And he's like, yeah, I want to do that too, baby. But nope, only if you guess the riddle correctly. Only if you answer me these questions 3, because it has to be this way for me to be happy, but I'm not going to tell you that that's what I want. It's every single one of her characters, even like the side characters, even side characters in her books have that problem, where they know very much what they want, what their motivation is, as much as any character in an E.L. James book can have motivation or goal or conflict, but they know what they want, but they won't go for it because the conflict is them not communicating those needs. Tentatively, she raises her hand and traces my bottom lip with her thumb. No, I didn't sign up for this, but I did sign up for you. The words are softly spoken, and in them there's hope for us. Did any of us truly believe that they were going to break up or be in any kind of relationship trouble? Any of us? Did any of us think that? Because I get that one could say, well, obviously it's a romance, so they're gonna get a happy ever after, they're gonna be together. That's not even what I mean. I mean, they don't even separate. There's nothing, this is supposed to be such a huge, momentous thing that it could break them up. And it was taken care of in, like, a conversation. And then the next morning I'm supposed to be like, oh no, what if the conversation wasn't enough? What if they're still on the verge of breaking up? There's no suspense. We know they're not, because there is no story outside of them just doing things together. And then there's some plot over here that occasionally we're going to touch on, but it's not going to be the focus. The focus is whether or not Maxim and Alessia are going to break up, which is never framed as a real possibility at any point. It's just tons of overreaction to a bunch of stupid shit. By the way, if you use the phrase happy trail in a book, in a sex scene, I'm gonna laugh at you. That doesn't necessarily mean I'll stop reading the book, because there are some authors I've read who use happy trail like in an unironic way in their sex scenes, and I've just kind of been like, But no, I mean, I'm still gonna laugh at you. Just be warned. So she starts getting sexy with him, and we go into her, and he's like all into it, and he's like, yeah, we're all made up and all this stuff, right? So she starts getting sexy to him, and we go into her POV for what has got to be the most fucking depressing shit I have ever read in a romance novel. You'll have to fight for him. Her mother's words from their call this morning ring through her head. And fight she will, using every available weapon she has. She loves him. She knows this. She wants him. And she wants him to want her. She skirts her fingers over his unyielding erection once more. The rigid proof at her fingertips means she's succeeding. It's an intoxicating feeling, seducing her husband. Or maybe he's seducing her. She doesn't care. She didn't sign up for all the other women, but they are out of his life. He said so, and she's chosen to believe him. Even though there's questionable evidence splashed all over the papers, she can see he's the reluctant party in the photograph. And now she wants him. But he hasn't touched her since his thumb skirted her lips. How can you use the word skirted that much? And first of all. And second of all, the reason that she wants to have sex with him is not because she wants to have sex with him. The reason she wants to have sex with him is because she thinks that by having sex with him, she's like securing their relationship. Like she's like, oh my God. This is supposed to be romantic. You're supposed to feel romanced right now. You're supposed to feel like this is romantic. Are you feeling it? Are you turned on by this? Do you believe in the power of love? because I don't, Huey Lewis. I don't know what to fucking tell you. I mean, I cannot feel the power of love in this. All right, friends. All right, friends. Okay. Get ready. We have a brand new entry to weird E.L. James sex lines, okay? I know everybody thought I Detonate Around Him was like this real, like, fucking weird thing, right? Here's one. Try not to read this in a Balky from Perfect Stranger's voice. The only way you're not going to be able to hear this as Balky saying it is if you have never seen Perfect Strangers. There's no other way to read this and not hear Balky Bartakamus. Maxim's tongue is on her big time. Not making it up. Well, you can't see it. You won't be able to see that. But it says, Maxim's tongue is on her, period, line break, new line, big time, period, big time. I really feel like she's not even trying to write anymore. Like, I feel like she's not even trying. She groans and grabs the countertop for balance. Maxim's tongue is on her big time. And then there's a few little, like, more like 1 or 2 word sentences so that you can, like, understand that it's hot. And then she talks about her gripping the counter. Like, she was already holding on to the counter. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Do we remember the character of Maxim? And do we remember what he's like, who he is? Do we remember him taking women back to his apartment and he's supposed to be this sex god or whatever, right? He tells her that he's never had sex in his kitchen, ever. He tells her that he has never had sex in the kitchen. This guy who's supposed to have, like, done it 6 ways till Sunday has never had sex in his own kitchen. I don't believe it, Maxim. I think you're lying. So they do it on the counter. She gets flour on her ass. Because there is no one-trick pony that E.L. James will not ride to death and then flog in the street. Do you remember how Christian and Anna used to say, oh, I love you, Mr. Gray, I love you, Mrs. Gray, and it was this whole thing because they were married? Well, they do it too. He says, I love you, Lady Trevithick, and she says, I love you, Lord Trevithick. So their thing is exactly the same as Christian and Anastasia's thing, but in terms of this book, there is added, like, nobility. It makes it somehow worse. Oh my god! Oh no! Oh no! I just read something and I'm not sure if I can actually go on to next week's, like, to wait until next week's chapter. I don't know if I can, because what the fuck did I just read, right? Okay. She says that she will fight for him. And then he's like, oh, my love, you don't have to fight for me. I'm yours, always. I'll be yours for as long as you'll have me. Alessia is winded by his quiet but passionate entreaty. He studies her as he stands between her legs. What can I do to convince you? What can I do to convince? First of all, when you see where this is going, you will absolutely shit yourself that this is his solution. But why does he have to convince? We have already done the making up from the fight, and then we had to do it again at breakfast sex. And now she's doubting again. He has to prove his love more. Is that all this is gonna be? But yeah, let's talk about what a great idea he has to fix their relationship. One that throughout the history of humankind and human relationships has never failed to yield a positive outcome. I know, he says, his face lighting up with sudden inspiration. Let's have a baby. Yeah, that's a chapter hook. That's why I don't know about, like, next week. Like, how do I wait until next week, like, to get through this, right? Like, how do I wait until next week and find out if she fucking stabs him? Because that's what she should do. They're gonna have a baby. I know this in my heart. You know this in your heart. They are going to have a baby. They are gonna have a baby. Carolyn is gonna do some crazy shit. They're gonna have a baby, and then Carolyn is going to get the morbid throat or the putrid throat or whatever, and Alessia is gonna go and try to tend to her, and then she's gonna get the putrid throat, and then the baby's gonna get the putrid throat, and then Julia's gonna die while Demelza is still suffering in a coma or something from the putrid throat. I don't remember why she was unconscious that long. She just was. But the point is, holy cow, they are going to have we know that they are going to have a baby to save this relationship. It is going to work, and it is going to be yet another one of those things where an incredibly toxic idea is born out as romantic in an E.L. James book. I swear to God, they're going to have a baby. They're going to have a baby. But remember, I was wrong, though. I was wrong at the beginning where I was like, they're not going to get married. Or it's going to be like 10 chapters until they get married. So maybe they won't have a baby. Maybe this is an epilogue baby. Maybe they'll fix their relationship ahead of time, or fix it as much as they possibly can, being E.L. James characters. I don't know. Holy shit, you guys. It's taken it out of me. And it's a short chapter. It was a short chapter this week because, again, like I said, if there's ever any conflict that she doesn't want to deal with, she just throws in a bunch of sex, and that's what happened in this chapter. There was, not that I wanted to rehash the picture thing, not that I wanted to, but you know what would have been a good chapter here? You know what would have worked here? Is if Alessia had confronted him with the article. And because in the last chapter, he said, confront me, bring this stuff to me. What if Alessia had said, hey, here's this. Here are some ground rules that we need to make some ground rules so that I'm protected from this happening again, so that we're protected from this happening again. We need to come up with a plan together. And then they have that conversation. What about that? Why couldn't that happen? Because there's no chance to describe what someone's wearing or how beautiful Maxim looks. So, time for the sex. I don't get it. I don't get it. If you also don't get it, that's fine. I would prefer that nobody get it, but this book has fans. Anyway, check out the description box for other stuff that I do. Like, comment, subscribe. If you know someone who enjoys watching people have the spirit beat out of them, buy horrible books, introduce them to my work. Check out the Patreon where we're actually reading a decent book, Model Land by Tyra Banks. Otherwise, I will catch you on the flip side.